All right, Scavengers, welcome to episode 40, Chris. Episode 40 of the Six Skill Scavengers podcast. We've got a special episode for everybody today, and I'm really looking forward to this one. Chris, I don't know, there's something big about just the number 40. We're not over the hill. We're just getting started. And yeah.
I know. To think 40 episodes. It's a big, nice round number, and hopefully at least another 40.
So anybody new just joining in for the first time, I'm the host, Bryan Fontaine, joined as always with my good friend Chris Letty and TC, the trio. But guys, something about the number 4 and 40, I thought it would be great just for balancing things out if we had a fourth member for our 40th episode. So I wanted to extend a special welcome. We have another Chris on the show, TC. We are going to be outnumbered today. So I don't know if we were kind of talking about how we're going to delineate between Chris Letty and Chris from our Scavengers collecting group. But Chris B, welcome, my friend.
Hi, how's everybody doing?
What's going on, man?
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, you've been quite the podcast star here lately. You've made an assemble appearance. I just listened to you on PJ the Paradox Nerd, the Sithcast. So why not make it 3 for 3 here?
I'm going to try to make a round for all of them.
Gotta make those rounds, man.
Yeah. I don't think my wife would like that very much, though.
Hey, there's nothing wrong about talking about collecting here.
She's tired of hearing about it.
Yeah, so is my wife too.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to go through, we actually have a new segment we're going to unveil tonight because we are going to be, unfortunately, light on news. We have not one, but 2 giveaways for tonight, thanks to a anonymous scavenger. We are going to talk about our collection update. And one of the things I'm looking forward to, guys, is talking about, usually we come up with some pretty good topics, and oftentimes from our private Facebook group, somebody will ask a question or make a post about something, kind of sparks my curiosity on things we could talk about. So I thought it would be relevant that we talk about some more additional tips on how to find some hot toys deals and bargains. One of the questions I've seen a lot lately is either people are asking, hey, is this a good price for this? Or, hey, I just picked this up and, did I make a good deal? So why not, instead of just answering people, let's teach people how to fish. So we'll go ahead and do that. And finally, everybody that is on YouTube here tuning in live, we already have 23 people tuning in on a Thursday, not our typical Wednesday recording. The Patrol Trooper from Solo, the hype, guys, on this thing is incredible. And I think each of us at least has had it in hand at one point. 3 of us have it in hand still. And I think we're going to earn our name of the 6 scale enablers tonight, Chris.
Oh, 100%. 100% this thing is going to get people over the hump. I know Super Duper Paratroopers already got one of the websites locked in and noticing a particular price jump. But yeah, awesome figure. Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything. Classic OT vibes, and then the great craftsmanship, the mix of soft
media
goods
and stuff.
Yeah, mixed media. It's a great figure.
I think after this podcast, 24 people are going to go out and buy another one.
It'd be like the speeder bikes when they were on the Assemble a few months back.
Yeah.
Speeder bikes, snow troopers. What else? What else has gone crazy?
Speeder bike always in stock, though. It's still
Always
in stock.
Yeah, we didn't really move the needle too much on that one,
Endless
guys.
supply.
But the snow troopers, man, that price is going crazy right now.
How many years has that been out now?
The speeder?
Yeah,
I think it's been like 8.
Wow.
I don't even know. It's been a
years.
long time. Yeah.
So, Chris, I thought I'd lead the show off here with, moving on up to episode 40. You're physically going to be moving soon. And on Monday, I had the day off from my day job, and I asked if you needed some help moving. And you took me up on the offer. We had the opportunity for a couple hours, not only just to move some of your stuff, but actually talk about collecting and the podcast and everything. So I wanted to show everybody a picture that I snapped of what will be your new basement.
Mhm.
And hopefully in time, yours will look just like Chris B behind him.
I don't know if I can quite get to that level, but I'll work on getting there.
So and just so you know, the root cellar gets more talk on the assembles than
There you go.
we do on the podcast, but I did want to let everybody know I took a selfie of the actual root cellar shelf, which actually that shelf isn't even behind you right now for anybody tuning in live.
That's why I got my Marvel sign right here.
And then finally, the new stockroom. This is a picture of just where that first picture I showed with us moving all of your shelving units over. And this looks like the Sideshow warehouse here, guys.
Do you offer free shipping, Chris?
I do, actually.
I don't know if anybody can zoom in too well, but I mean, there's some pretty valuable figures. There's the Scarlet Witch. There's a K2SO in here. There's lots of goodness there.
Is that all of you?
That was most of them. We filled up a few more shelves there. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. By next recording, I'll have a temporary setup down in the basement. It's going to be pretty much the same as this one, just a nicer foundation to look at.
There's a time and a place for everything.
Right.
Close the book on Root Cellar 1. Just move right on over 10 feet or whatever, 100 feet to Root Cellar 2.
Yeah, not even 100 feet, like 20 feet.
Yeah. I think my Fitbit said I went up and down like 33 sets of stairs on Monday, going up and down your bulkhead.
Yeah, your help was greatly appreciated. I knew the moving the collection stuff was very low on the priority list for the wife. So to have a helping hand was awesome.
Well, I think part of it too is actually having somebody to help you that understands the value of what you're carrying. I think I carried like no more than 3 or 4 at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only a few bumped heads on the way out of the basement. And yeah.
Yep.
Do you have a date plan to start building it?
What's that?
Do you have a date plan to start building your basement?
I think once we're moved in and all the new furniture is purchased and that sort of thing, I'll let my wife get all settled in, and hopefully within the next month or 2, I can start getting the materials and framing out everything.
I had to make sure everything was done above the basement before I started at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That is very key.
Yeah.
I hear you there.
Make her happy before I spend all my time down here.
Mm-hmm.
Smart
I already
move.
spend enough time in the basement. She's like, if you get that basement finished off, I'm never going to see you.
All right, guys. So before we start with our new segment, I wanted to do one of our 2 giveaways. So we had a very generous scavenger donate not 1, but 2 Sideshow $20 off coupons, and they wanted me to give them away during the podcast tonight. So guys, I'm going to need the 3 of you giving me a hand here to look in the chat. So it's going to be very simple. We're going to have 2 separate trivia questions. We'll have the second one probably after we do our collection update. This is going to hopefully reward some of our long-standing scavengers and have been listening for quite a while. So these aren't terribly hard, but we'll see. So this first question, so I want everybody, first person to type it into the chat on YouTube will be our winner of the first code. So the trivia question for the first code is, and this will be pertaining to myself, I want to have somebody indicate to us what was my first hot toy that I got. I've told the story many times on the podcast, but hopefully it'll be fairly easy. So, and once we do pick a winner, if you're not in our Facebook group, send me an email to sixscalescavengers@gmail.com and we'll hook you up with that code. All right, guys, we'll keep an eye on that. So one of the things that also on my trip over to Chris's house this week was we get on these tangents, guys. Like sometimes when we're doing our collection updates, people are, we got a winner, Joe P,
Yep.
the short trooper. All right, so we'll make sure we hook him up with that. We'll do the second trivia question in just a little bit. So driving over to Chris's house, I'm listening to the Solo soundtrack, and I've just been on this Solo kick. I mean, part of it's getting the patrol trooper here, but it's funny how like you can think one little thought, and then all of a sudden it balloons into this thing, and it like all consuming. Like I'm just all Solo right now. So I thought we could come up with a new segment where we could kind of talk about things that are going on in, in nerddom and fandom at the moment that kind of has our interest. And right now I'll kind of give mine away. It's Solo, but it's kind of funny how it started because it was not only the patrol trooper, but, it was one of those rumors going around that there was such a low production run of the patrol trooper, which kind of led me to like, okay, if I'm going to get it, I got to get it now. And then I started getting into like, geez, like Solo's a lot better than I remember. And then I talked about last episode, I was going to get some of the other figures in the line. And then I realized I had a couple Lego sets that I'd gotten previously that I built with my son, and we started doing that. And then next thing I know, I'm just like Solo. But I don't know, guys, like that's kind of going on with me. It's kind of funny because like I should be excited about Clone Wars. I mean, Clone Wars is debuting in like, 5 hours from now on Disney Plus, but that's kind of where I'm at. So it's been kind of a continuation from the last episode, but I'm definitely more in. Chris B, we were talking before we hit the record button. I mean, Solo's pretty high on your list, and it's funny how like hindsight and even nostalgia just from a few years ago can really kind of kick in, and you start to really appreciate something a little bit more than you did when it first came out.
I actually really liked it when it first came out. I had no reservations whatsoever about it. It's pretty high on my list. It's number 2 behind Empire. I really believe that for myself.
That's like K2SO high.
Yeah, it is. And Jedi second. I'm sorry, Jedi's third. But yeah, I just love everything about it. Nothing like I could honestly say there were things about the sequel trilogy that each one of them had something about it I did not care for. But Solo, there was nothing about it I didn't like.
It was awesome.
All right, TC, I'm going to throw it over to you next. And what's kind of piquing your curiosity in fandom right now?
Yeah, I'm going to stick to the figure side of things. So I know Chris B knows this website very well, I'm pretty sure, but Anno Toys. So this was from a group member, Curtis Hancock. He shared that he got a snowtrooper through Anna Toys and also shared some of his other figures he got. So I went and I checked this site out, and it's a Filipino-based company. And obviously the site is it's a Filipino-based company, and but the site's built really well. It's almost like Big Bad Toy Store quality. I think they've got a catalog of like 200 to 300 Hot Toys in pre-order, in stock, and then this shows some of their out of stock, but they have a lot of good deals. I think the pricing is a little different than it is on like a Sideshow Big Bad Toy Store. The market's a little different. Obviously, you can find deals on some of the Star Wars figures, even some of the ones that have been out for a while. They had Rogue One troopers for about $200. The base trooper, good luck finding that for under $300 on eBay or any other sites. And they don't come up often, especially that base trooper. They had they just recently sold out of the Han Solo New Hope, and that was for like mid 200s. They had Anakin Skywalker available for about $250. The Smirking Han, the Stormtrooper version, for under $300. They just have a lot of older Star Wars figures and even some Marvel stuff for really good prices compared to what you would find on eBay and what you would find in some of the other sites like Toy Hideout, where the U.S. market is just a little bit different. And so I'm really intrigued, and I don't know. I think it's going to be a problem actually for me. So I'm probably going to be visiting that site.
So TC, I have to ask you. So since you found out about this, how many hours do you think you've spent on this website?
Probably a couple. because I'll go on there and I'll just like I'll search literally from the first hot toy to the very last and just look and see the prices and do the conversion, because I think the conversion rate's like 2/100ths of the US dollar. So basically, you can just do quick math and you find the US currency rate. But there's a lot of deals out there. They have Jyn Erso, the the disguise version for about $300, which isn't bad. Now they do have shipping, but there's no tax, so the shipping's probably about $25 a figure. But I mean, on some of these where you're looking at $300, close to $400, it's worth giving it a shot. I know Chris B, I think you got something. I don't want to steal your thunder. Sorry.
Yeah,
but,
I did.
You got something cool.
I'll tell you what it was later during the collection update.
Right.
But yeah, I found something on there that was like $100 less than normally on eBay, and Dan Lee told me about it, and I was busy at the time. And Dan Lee texted me about it, telling me, I jumped on it like as soon as possible, and I literally got it in 3 days from the Philippines. It only took 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah. And they messaged me right back after I wasn't sure if my order went through. And I wrote them on Instant Messenger, and they got right back to me saying, yeah, your order went through. We're about to ship it tomorrow. And 3 days from across the world.
Yeah, Anna Toys, spelled ANOTOYS. They have a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. They get really good reviews. And it's not a little tiny store. This is a pretty big store, and they really the fans really do enjoy the store and the website. So it's worth checking out. So sorry, Curtis, if I'm spreading the word on your gold mine.
secret weapon of a scavenger.
Yeah, but he's got all the good
wiped
stuff.
out.
He's got all the good stuff from him. He got the Shore Trooper and Snow Trooper. So
The thing I got is actually used. It's not brand new.
okay.
They didn't have the plastic on the hands and the feet and stuff. So it isn't brand new.
Interesting.
Might have been on display in the store or something.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Chris Aletti, what's going on with you, my friend?
All right, mine's totally out of left field. All right, so we talk basically only about Marvel and Star Wars, and
rightfully so.
Rightfully
Sorry,
so. I mean, I've got the two signs behind me, but there's been a spark in my collection that is unexpected, and it's one Harley Quinn, and I went and saw Birds of Prey. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a really fun movie, and in my collection update, I'll talk about a couple figures that I picked up that have kind of been on my radar for a while, and I noticed that one of them, the prices is just skyrocketing on, and figured probably try to get one, before it really gets to that next level. So, yeah, Harley Quinn, no surprise there. Margot Robbie, been a fan of hers since Wolf of Wall Street. I'm sure you guys can.
How can you not?
Yeah. So, and I mean, she's a great actress, and she is Harley Quinn, just like Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. I mean, she is that character, and look forward to seeing her in the James Gunn's version of Suicide Squad coming out, I think, next year. So, yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, that is out of left field. But you got the Justin Timberlake treatment earlier today, rightfully so. And
I prepped you.
You did. TC squeaked it out of you.
Yeah.
Chris is pushing hard for the DC grandfathering in the show. Permission to talk about
I mean,
DC.
it literally took 40 episodes.
39 we talked about.
Yeah, we talked about it last episode, and then there's actually a collection update that involves the purchase of a DC
of said DC figures.
Knocking down the Berlin Wall.
That's it.
The DC hammer.
So what are the chances of in a couple episodes everybody's going to sell their Star Wars and get all the DC figures, huh?
Not a chance. And
yeah,
what?
I don't think so, but it would be funny.
Last
but
not
least, Chris B, what's going on in fandom for you, my friend?
Something I never thought I would look at. Well, two things I never thought I would look at. The Sideshow Troopers. you had gotten that 212 battalion and showed me a picture. Well, you told me about it. I looked it up. But before that, I was starting to look at like the AT-AT driver and the TIE fighter pilot. But then I started looking at a lot of the other troopers, like Fives and Echo, and I'm actually thinking about looking into those. And I never thought I would, because I've heard all about the quality of the figures, and the face sculpts are bad, but the helmeted stuff is probably really good. That's one. I was thinking about those for a little while, and then our buddy Matt from Rogue One kind of put something in my ear the other night, and I've been looking on Novo's website, and
you relented.
Oh, I did. He's bad. He's terrible.
He's the original enabler.
He's the worst one.
It's PJ first, and then it goes to Matt, and then he tells
Steve
everybody else.
and-
Yep.
I know that the white Death Trooper helmet wasn't in the movie, but wow, it looks pretty great. I'm that's going to probably be my first one.
That's some good stuff. So just a little bit. So I actually don't have the clone trooper in hand. I just got a screaming deal. Aaron from a new member of our group just joined, and it was actually on like Tashi. And I just like, it looked like a good price. I had to do some researching first to make sure like a little bit more about it, but it was one of the later ones that they had done. And I know I've got Cody on the way, so I thought it would be a good pairing. But Chris, I did the same thing. I started looking on eBay. I'm like, oh, Fives, Echo, Rex. I'm like, somebody had posted on Instagram today, like you could have originally got them for like 150 retail. They're like over 600 now. It's just like, I can't, why?
They're not cheap.
They're not. And if you know the quality's not like Hot Toys quality, then it's like, you got to be right time, right place. But
I know two of them I'm definitely getting. So I have to have two of them.
Well, hopefully you can use those ABS principles to score a deal. And if anybody comes across one and they send some intel your way, I'm sure you'd be appreciative of that. So
very much.
All right. So before we go on, Curtis actually is in the group right now, and he said he's already got all the good stuff. So have at it, TC on Anno Toys.
Yeah, it's true. He did get some really, really good stuff. I'm not going to deny that, but really appreciate it, Curtis.
So hopefully everybody enjoyed that kind of a little fun tangent and seeing what's going on. Sometimes like the collection update usually reflects some of the craziness that we're doing, but also, it's an exciting time. I mean, we got a lot of stuff. I mean, New York Toy Fair is on right now as we're kind of shifting over to news at this point. We won't go into depth just because there's no real 6-scale presence there. Sideshow, Hot Toys, they're not there. But I thought we could maybe go around the horn, and I'm sure everybody's seen some of like the releases. I mean, we got more the Child Baby Yoda merchandise on the way, some Lego stuff. Letty, I'll start with you. Just I haven't referred to you as Letty in like 40 episodes. It'll be a little different. I call you Letty all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I haven't really gotten to see too much of what's kind of leaked out today, but several people were tagging me in some specific Ahsoka Tano related merch. Can't say I'm super excited about it, but the things kind of look neat. There's the Galaxy of Adventures 5-inch figure from the new season 7 of Clone Wars. So I mean, it looks all right, but I'll probably pick one up. And then they came out with some little, I forget what the name of the line is, but they're like 2.5-inch little figures, kind of like the Galactic Heroes. So they had an Ahsoka on like some speeder or something. And then guys were joking in the group, posting there's a life-size cutout or standee of Ahsoka. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna fly. But there's some really, I mean, the Lego stuff looks great, and I just wish there was more 3 3/4-inch Star Wars figures. And I mean, that's my bread and butter, and it's kind of too bad it's gone by the wayside, other than the vintage collection. Because I mean, I love the 5 POA. I love that stuff, and having the figure lines from the movies. But I don't know. I don't know. What about who's next?
Chris B, what did you see any of the stuff released today?
I quickly looked. There wasn't really anything that I was interested in. Just like Chris, I'm into the 3 3/4 figures. I was hoping for a lot of vintage collection stuff to show up, but they didn't show anything yet. So hopefully, maybe over the next couple of days, possibly. But I think it's the whole weekend, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really see anything that I was too interested in. I don't collect Legos or anything like that. So
TC, what about you?
Yeah. I haven't even looked at a picture. I think the only one I saw was the Ahsoka figure that you showed. I don't think Sideshow's there. And I know Hot Toys isn't there. So it just hasn't really piqued my interest.
I had to break out the Dopo. I Dopo'd the Lego Razor Crest from Mandalorian. Yeah. So at least my son is still he's 8 and loves Legos. I'm trying to use Legos as a way to lure him into Star Wars because he likes it, but he doesn't love it like his dad does. But we got the ATST Raider set. I may have gotten a lot of the solo sets recently, scavenging for those. But for the Razor Crest, looks pretty cool. It obviously has a Baby Yoda in it, so I pre-ordered it directly on the Lego website. I think it's due to come out September, so probably not that they're going to have like a Forced Friday this year because there's no movie, but whatever their event they'll have in September, I'm sure that's when it'll drop.
Chris, you remember when when I was chatting, I was in Walmart months ago and I was sharing Far From Home Lego sets and I was getting memes thrown back at me not to buy them.
Yes,
that was from Fontaine.
I know.
This guy's over here buying day one pre-order Lego sets.
I know. And he's going back in the catalog, and
hey, there's a lot of great, we have I think I'm biased, but I feel like a lot of our Hot Toys resources with checklists and stuff we'll talk about it in a little bit, are very helpful. But there's tons of other websites out there. Like I think it was I found this website called Brickset, and you just look up a movie or a line and it tells you exactly everything that was released and the prices and all that other stuff. It was pretty cool. But we'll see some more this weekend. I just wish Hasbro could get their act together and figure out whatever they're trying to do, because I think they're trying to do way too much, and I don't think they have any kind of a focus. But we'll see.
Just pick a figure size to focus on. It's like they've got all these different sizes, and then they're the thing that put them on the map is the one that they're skimping on. But oh well.
And even when they do, they only come out with like 5 figures every 6 months to a year. Before it used to be like 30 figures a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their whole strategy has shifted, and it's kind of too bad. Hopefully there'll be a turnaround at some point, but it doesn't seem like it. But
TC, so there's really no other news. I mean, I think we can, as we've talked about on the Assemble and the recent shows, I think due to the coronavirus, that's really putting a stranglehold on a lot of things. And obviously there's a lot more important things in life right now than our collecting habits and our figures that we just don't have. I think we're all more than happy to be patient. I know my budget's pretty happy because it can, fill in while I'm waiting for all these pre-orders to eventually show up. But TC, speaking of pre-orders, you noticed a couple interesting things on Sideshow's website yesterday.
Yeah, a couple low-key sneak attack pre-orders from Hot Toys. So the first one was Attack of the Clones Yoda. So that one was sold out on Sideshow pretty quickly, and you can still find it in other stores, but the price is starting to rise, and then all of a sudden it just showed up on Sideshow's website for pre-order. Estimated release date, November 2020 to January 2021. And then another one, the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett, the deluxe version only, up again for pre-order, with the estimated release date of November 2020 to January 2021. And some people are getting their wait lists converted on that figure. So I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. I have my theories on it. But let me know, Chris B, what do you think about that?
I'm surprised. I mean, they've sat on this site for a while, didn't they? Especially
Did.
Boba Fett. I actually, like I said, I said before on the Sithcast, I have two separate accounts. I have my wife's account and I have my account. And I have Yoda on waitlist on my wife's account. And I got an email on my account saying it's available. You could pre-order it. So why wouldn't it convert on the waitlist? I don't understand that.
Well, I'm thinking. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. And such a far away, release date. It's already been out.
Yeah. So I'm thinking the Attack of the Clones Yoda is getting the Thor Infinity War treatment. So kind of right on the cusp of when it sold out, they announced another run for Infinity War Thor. I'm thinking the same thing for Yoda. But I'm kind of thinking, I don't know, maybe they got some stock for Boba Fett from overseas. I don't know if you remember a few months ago or several months ago, they released the Mark 6 plastic version for pre-order, and it was only exclusive, I believe, exclusive to Shanghai, the Disney stores in China. So I don't know, maybe something like that's happening. It's just very odd because Boba Fett, especially that deluxe version, sat for well over a year. So I don't know why you would go back and make another run of them after forcing Sideshow to sit on stock for 15 months or whatever it was.
They got some inside info saying, hey, bring these two figures out. There's something coming up.
True. Maybe the Yoda is the similar body to the quarter scale baby Yoda. And all I had to do is add the head sculpt. And they said, well, it's an easy way to make more Yodas. And then also you can make baby Yoda might be on the horizon. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good theory. It is really weird that, well, I guess you think Boba Fett, Mandalorian, Baby Yoda, like you're saying, there's got to be some sort of connection there. Maybe they anticipate, more sales in those areas. But
why the deluxe?
Or there was just a bunch of stock. I know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again,
it'll be interesting to kind of keep track. I mean, one kind of even further conspiracy theory from there too is, I mean, I would be really surprised if we get any real movement for another month or two with what's going on overseas, and that's probably being optimistic. I mean, everything's really just going to get pushed back. Anything that they can release or things that are relatively easy in the pipeline, like TC said, I think might be options. The other thing too, and I think you're going to start to see it on Big Bad Toy Store and I think on Sideshow. I think in lieu of having anything new out there or pre-orders or anything that's available, I think people, I think a lot of, I don't necessarily think any scavengers, but I think just collectors in general are going to start getting antsy. And I think you're going to see people start buying things that maybe they didn't really initially intend. And you might start seeing some stock levels drop on just things that people actually have in hand.
mm-hmm.
I know, Chris, Letty, I know this is something we've talked about. I know last year around this time, there was another lull too, and you saw people go crazy for a lot of the stock on Sideshow. A lot of the older Marvel figures that they had just like disappeared during that time frame.
Yeah, that was definitely, one of those trends that you saw where there was no releases and it kind of gave people a breather to pick up some figures that kind of been lingering around. And I mean, hopefully that happens. Hopefully people can take a break as far as, new pre-orders and pick up some of these figures that have been sitting in stock. It would be advantageous for Sideshow to continue with the $25 off coupons, and there's no big event to do for rewards and that sort of thing. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where Sideshow, Hot Toys, in combination with the real world events, it's kind of pushing things out even further than they were last year.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think like if they don't have the supplies on hand in the factory, if they have to actually get parts or materials I mean, that is going to further delay things.
Yes.
You don't know how much they have on hand in the factory itself. It's not, I'm guessing, I have no idea. I'm not even going to speculate, but if that's a problem, then, restarting the entire production line is just going to take a long time. So I think anything slotted for Q1, late Q2, and everything's just
At
delayed
best.
a quarter. Yeah.
I think that might even be generous.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
because everything's got to be shipped over by Freightliner or whatever, and it's just gonna take forever. But I mean, it's fine for me.
Okay.
I'm actually happy that I can, some of these figures that were expected this time of the year, I can just plan and just save up for when they do show up. I'm more financially prepared, I should say.
It's actually been terrible for me. Like I don't have any pre-orders coming in, and I'm looking at Sideshow Troopers. I'm going backwards a lot. I have a question though. What is, like, with everything being put on hold now, could you imagine like what it's going to be like at the end of this year? The fourth quarter of this year is crazy already.
Mm-hmm.
And you push things everything back. So like, however long this is taking, what it's going to look like at the end of the year.
Well, I think they're going to have to do one of two things. I don't think that they're going to have the availability to do so. I think just everything that's already slated to come out, I think everything's going to get pushed back, however long it takes. So, for example, one thing that most scavengers are looking forward to is the Mandalorian line. They're all slated for October to December 2020. To me, those are most likely going to March or April next year. I mean, and that would probably be optimistic. I think everything's going to get pushed back because there's no way that they're going to be able to just double up just to make up for this time lost, because if they're unless they're working around the clock, and I highly doubt they're going to do that.
Yeah, they risk QC issues and quality problems if they try to crank out twice as much, or the Mando, some lines and figures get leapfrog the Mando stuff, past the Mando stuff. So maybe that might be priority, and a bunch of other figures, Marvel figures and that sort of thing, end up going behind those in the production.
Yeah, I think
never know.
That's going to happen. I think like things like the Mando, like you said, will get priority, and then
because I'm sure they want to time it for when season 2 starts dropping, and if they have to have those figures out during that season airing, I think.
I think it'll definitely be something that we are going to continue to cover as all these episodes come by. Not like we're insiders by any means. We're certainly not experts. Chris, that was probably our catchphrase very early on when we did these things. Is, we're not experts. We don't pretend to be. We're just collectors. We're just average Joes, just like everybody else here.
Yeah, we don't have any inside scoops. We're just speculating. That's all.
That's what I like to do. All right, so let's not speculate anymore. Let's talk about some collection updates. And I think send things over to our special guest, and I'll send it over to Chris B first and see what you've picked up recently, my friend.
I've gone crazy. I really have, with no pre-orders coming in. I've gone crazy, especially because of the cockpit coming out. I updated the cockpit and had to have all that with all the lights and the sounds and stuff. So, like on the last Scavengers assemble, I got Han and Chewie. Of course, I had to get a New Hope Leia and Hoth Leia. And I got Boba Fett and Darth Vader from you, Bryan. That was I didn't realize how much I needed them until I had them in hand, and they are now my top shelf, middle of my top shelf. Like, that's how great those two figures really are.
Nice.
And especially when Darth Vader's lit up, it's really. I have my stuff wired up, so I can just turn it on with a light switch, and it lights up, and it's a whole nother level. I had bought a single snow trooper for a really good deal, and then I bought a probe droid from a comic shop. I travel a lot, so I go to all the comic shops that I go to in all the cities I go to, and I walked into one in Maryland, and I was blown away by how much stuff they had. They had statues and hot toys and like even older Sideshow. They had an AT-AT driver that I was interested in. But the probe droid is, I don't know if any of you have ever had it or seen it in person. It's pretty stunning. And when you put it up against a snow trooper, it makes that snow trooper even pop even more. So I like from that Anno Toys that TC was talking about, I found a 2-pack of snow troopers and had to get those. There was only 2 of them, and I thought for sure Steve probably got the other one, but I talked to him and he didn't get it. So yeah. So now I like I said, I've gone crazy, and now I have to stop for a while because I there's a lot I want, but I'm gonna hold off for like 2-3 weeks before I start actually buying things that I want to get again.
Understandable.
Just 2 or 3 weeks, huh?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. That's it. I don't think I could hold out that long. You know, I'm like a kid in a candy store. Like it's Christmas for me at all times. You know, I love getting packages in the mail, and it's pretty bad.
No, we understand. I mean, I think we had a tracker in our podcast thread, and it was how many days have you gone without any kind of Hot Toys transaction? And ours are like 5 days max
0.
before something happens. Trade, sell, buy. Something happens with a Hot Toys figure. So we understand.
Yeah, I just can't keep off the sites or eBay. I don't really buy anything from eBay, but I always check prices and stuff on eBay. So I'm on it all the time. And it starts to get in the way sometimes. So, yeah.
All right, TC. Anything else, Chris?
From me?
Yeah.
No, that's it. That's everything I got so far. So
it's quite a bit.
I got the 2-pack actually today. So I'll play with those for a little while.
Nice.
Nice.
All right. Looks like Letty was able to rejoin us here. So I'll send her over to you, my friend, in case we lose you again. That root cellar is trying to give you the last fits it can before you retire it.
Yeah. Thanks to an awesome internet connection. So I've been doing some stuff. I sold some figures. I sold Guardians of the Galaxy 1 Groot and my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Ghost Rider to Chris L in the group. So that was they found good home. So, you know, they're great looking figures, but they kind of were outliers in the collection and didn't quite fit into where I was going. And then I finally sold my Toys Era Nightcrawler. I'm done with third-party figures. I'm done. It was an experiment that I regret, but again, they found a good home. Receives my DX-17 Darth Maul and my R2-D2 Deluxe from Big Bad Toy Store. Have yet to unbox the DX. I'm going to try to do hopefully a live unboxing maybe next week while I've got the week off. But it's going to be tough to hold out that long, but I just would have liked to do that. And then I kind of teased it in the Spark segment. Harley Quinn got me to buy a couple figures down there. MMS 383, the exclusive. Picked that up through a pretty good lowball offer and didn't expect for it to get accepted. And it's easily, I got it for like over $100 and something less than the average selling price right now. And I got it super quick from New York. And then I got the that's the one from Suicide Squad, the main one. And then I got MMS 407, her prisoner outfit, and I had a bunch of reward or eBay bucks, so I used towards that. And yeah, so I'm entering the DC game. Not going to go too deep into it, just kind of keep it to her figures for now. But yeah, so I'm excited to add those to the collection.
You snuck those in, like it caught TC and I completely off guard. We usually keep everybody updated with what we got going on, so it just makes it easier when we actually have these conversations that we kind of know what everybody's going to talk about. But man, you snuck. You got the Justin Timberlake treatment on that one for sure.
Yeah.
You asked for it too.
I did. I said get it ready, but I knew I was going to get grief for it. But I mean, I think. I personally think
we get it. We know. You don't have to explain yourself.
So
she's pretty amazing as Harley Quinn. She's actually really amazing. I saw Birds of Prey as well.
Yeah, I think she just embodies that character. I mean, Harley Quinn is literally all over the place as a character, and she's just a great actress. And I think I've been a fan of the character since the animated series, and to think that we got an actress to play the character like that is DC at least has a couple things going for it, and she's definitely one of them.
All right, good stuff, Chris Aletti. All right, TC, and I'm gonna try to fire up my the screen here so I can. I would have been trying to.
Oh, nice! I forgot about that.
Yeah, trying to share a little multimedia here. I'll actually have quite a bit for mine here, but talk a little bit about this experiment you try in here.
Yeah, so I went on Amazon and I was looking for those risers that Bryan's mentioned them, where you can stain your figures on them. I got one in my hand right here. They're clear, so you can see them, but they don't look terrible where like it's too busy or anything. So it's an easy way for you to add layers, basically your display shelf. So if you have figures lined up in rows, adding height to the figures behind the front ones, it allows you to, display more on one shelf and it looked good and not too crammed, in my opinion. So I got a few of those and I was able to put some of my figures on them. And these are 5x5 risers. And I used it for War Machine, Thor, and Iron Man, and you can see this is my Infinity War shelf. It's pretty much done. I go back and forth on the Iron Spider, but it's pretty much done. And so yeah, that's kind of what I did for Amazon. I also sold T'Chaka. So I recently had all the Black Panther figures, and I liked them. It was great to complete a line, but once I completed the line, I wanted other stuff more. So T'Chaka was an easy one to get rid of because his part in the movie is not super big, and really the throne looks pretty good without T'Chaka as well. And you can I kind of have Killmonger and Black Panther kind of standing right next to each other in front of the throne, so kind of battling it out. But so I did that, and the big one this week was I got a new figure. It is the original tech suit from Spider-Man Homecoming, the deluxe. So for a while, this figure was selling for well over $600. At its peak, it's dropped a good amount, and I was able to snag it. But the cool thing is sometimes I go on the boards, the Sideshow Freak boards, and I go on to the different marketplace threads, and there's a gentleman who, lo and behold, he lived in Georgia. Not only Georgia, Atlanta. And I found this out because we were negotiating back and forth, and he said, "Where do you live?" I said, "I live in Atlanta." And he goes, "No kidding, maybe we can do a meetup." So I said, "All right, great." So we made a deal and met, each drove about 10 miles, and I met a collector for the first time. First time in my life I've met someone who actually collects Hot Toys and understands what they are face to face, not virtually. So this was a pretty cool moment. And to actually get a Hot Toys box from somebody, that was also a pretty cool moment. Not, delivered to your door, shipped via UPS or FedEx or whatever. So it was cool just to shake the guy's hand His name's Andrew. His brother Vincent was with them, and yeah, we just got to chat for a couple minutes, and then exchanged the money, and then I got the figure, and that's it. And so, just want to let you know, Andrew, I do want to give you some good feedback for that. I just have not been able to figure out how to leave the feedback. Unfortunately, there's kind of I haven't been on the Sideshow site for a while, but I really do appreciate the deal. It's a great deal, and I really enjoyed meeting you. So yeah, that's it.
All right, good stuff. And
Awesome.
speaking of receiving your first hot toy in person, I wanted to go ahead before I do my update. I wanted to do our second giveaway with a code right now. And as Chris's furnace wants to start chugging along there,
That's for Stanley.
fittingly, this question is actually going to be about my first co-host and Chris. So very similarly, how about I asked what my first hot toy was? I want the first person in the chat right now to let us know what Chris Letty's first hot toy was, and first person to answer that correctly, I'll give the second $20 coupon to Sideshow. I also say too, the person that gave them to me, I am taking them on their full word that they're going to work. If they don't, I apologize. I'm not going to be able to pull another one out of thin air, but I would imagine they're going to work. So I just wanted to throw that little disclaimer out there too. So first hot toy that Chris Letty got that broke the dam, and now he's just die hard.
It's funny. I'll give a slight hint. Well, where Margot Robbie is one of my favorite actresses, this other figure is
Mike Collins. Get it?
He got it.
Brett was just there too. I wish I had another code to give Brett, but yeah, Mike just barely beat him by a second in the nice thread here. Mike. So Mike, reach out to me after the show, and I'll hook you up with that other code. All right. So I guess I'll do my collection update. I have some photos to share too, but we talked about the comings and goings, so I have a few of those too. I may have taken some grief from a professional boxer on a YouTube video about my propensity to part figures out. So I'm trying to be a better collector in 2020 and stop doing that. So I was trying to list two figures, guys. I was trying to list my Infinity War Thor and Doctor Strange, and they were missing parts. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to see if I can go about in getting the replacement parts so I can then list the figure whole. I had a few people biting when the prices were a lot lower, but I was like, all right, I'm just going to see what happens. So I was able to, on, I think, eBay, track down Thor. I was missing his bare arms, and I think Doctor Strange, I was missing the large mystic spell that he had at the two prong part. I had sent mine originally to Allison because hers broke from Sideshow, and they weren't going to replace it. I was like, I'm never going to need it. Well, I ended up needing it eventually, so I went ahead and got both of those, factored it into my collecting budget. And I was like, all right, well, I got them in. So I was able to list both for more than I was before. I did sell both in the group. The Strange sat around for a little bit longer, but it's still fine. Moral of the story here, guys, is I basically didn't net anything more than what I was selling for based on what I paid for getting the parts back. But at least I can feel better that I sold a complete figure and not something that was parted out. But those are some of the goings. So I just Chris B, you're mentioning you're just looking for deals and stuff. I can't say no to a good hot toy deal. And amongst many of the sites we'll talk about in a little bit, I just saw some deals and I'm like, that might fit my collection. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I talked about before getting the Shock Trooper from Pop Culture. That's basically not sticking around. That's kind of a pending sale that's gonna go. But the First Order Snow Trooper set from Big Bad Toy Store, I just they only had 3 left at the time, and I was like, that's $225 back. It's it nets to $170. I have a few First Order Troopers coming in, and I was like, yeah, that might fit. And then I thought about it more and trying to figure out how many spots I'm going to have. I'm just like, it's just not going to fit. So made it available on the group for what I paid, minus the bonus back, because I'll just use that for another figure. I think Commander Cody might be next. And Mario and I worked out a deal, and looking forward to sending that out to him tomorrow. And it's just, I don't know. I have a tough time, guys. I have moments of weakness and then realize afterwards that the good thing about Hot Toys, and I know PJ and may have talked about this recently on an Assemble or his own podcast, like Hot Toys, they're retaining their value. Even if you're going to lose a little bit of money, you're still going to get a lot of it back. So hooked Mario up there. So speaking of PJ, Chris B, we were talking about it before we hit record tonight. And I wanted to try to have at least one figure from Rise of Skywalker, even though it's not my favorite Star Wars movie at the moment. And ultimately decided on the Sith Trooper. Asked our scavenger group if anybody had a lead on one. And I got a message from our good friend, the Paradox Nerd, and said, hey, I'll sell you mine. So we came to a really good deal. He sent that off. It's really cool in person. The red's a nice contrast. So I needed to have him flanked by a couple of these guys, some First Order Stormtroopers. So ABS, always be scavenging. This one here I'm showing on the screen is the Officer, and I got this for less than half retail shipped. And this one looks pretty good. I love, oops, wrong way. That's not what I want to show. Let's... all my pictures are all screwed up here. All right. Well,
What a disaster.
what a disaster. This is all this technical. Well, here's all the things I'm going to talk about. Here's the picture I was looking for with the red pauldron. Looks pretty cool. Obviously, what the long people have said about these is they're hard to pose. They are, but I think you can still get them in things that, that look pretty good. And... oh man, this is all out of order. This makes for great radio. All right, so
amateur hour over here.
This is amateur hour. Well, I'm just going to skip ahead. So here's the Sith Trooper with the Officer, and thanks to our buddy Mark Pearson, I was able to. He sold me one of his loose First Order Stormtroopers, so now I have the trio here. I think this shelf looks pretty cool. And I'm going to go ahead and, stop sharing my screen while I try to figure out what a picture I'm trying to show next here. Anyways, I'll just give up on them. I'll just go verbally here. So anyways, that is some pickups that I did. Thanks to our buddy TC here, I was able to pick up his one of his Return of the Jedi Stormtroopers. I'm a Stormtrooper fanatic. I love troopers, and we came to a really good deal for that. TC, you're looking to kind of offset some of your Star Wars with some more of your Marvel, so I was happy to. I never mind doing a deal with each other. It's always quick and painless, and very, very easy to do. The other thing that I wanted is while I'm kind of on this solo kick is. I wanted a Chewbacca, and I knew that I either had two options, because I know they're not making the solo one. I don't think they're going to make another Chewbacca at this point, unless it's from Empire or Return of the Jedi. Empire is probably more likely with the 40th coming up, but I went ahead and went for the Force Awakens one, and just doing some scavenging, and I found a website, Underground Figures. They're based out of Rhode Island, which isn't too far from where Chris and I are, and got one for under retail. And then with shipping came still under retail, and just got that. Just arrived today, so I threw some of the pictures out into the group. And so the thing about this figure is, as everybody can see, the distance between the nose and the mouth is just too far. It looks off. So I've been talking to our buddy Roy, and there's some mods and stuff that can be done. I think from the side profile, it's not too bad. But this is one where obviously out of the box you need to use the comb there. This doesn't look that bad, but it also doesn't look that great either. So there's a mod that can be done to basically shave down the top of the mouth, and so that the distance between his nose and the top of his mouth is a little bit better. I think what happened with this figure is I think the way that they constructed the mouth and being able to open, I think it ended up being pushed too far forward in final production, and it kind of makes the mouth protrude out further, and it also extends the distance between his nose and his mouth. So I think I'm going to be brave and try that, but I don't know. I might chicken out too.
The nose looks a little big too. I don't know. It's it's just the Chewies, man. They just haven't quite hit the mark, but I think if you mod it, it could look a little better.
I think in pictures it looks a little worse than it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen it really protrudes it even more. I've seen it in person as well. I wasn't as I didn't dislike it as much as I thought I was going to in person, but the pictures make it look real bad.
It's a little bit better in person. I think being able to comb through a little bit more, speaking of Cletus, he's out there right now. It does look a little like Elf right now. So hopefully I'm going to be able to try that mod. I'll share the results. And basically what it is you end up taking the head off, you end up taking the jaw out, and then you sand down the top of the roof of the mouth. You take that out and you sand down the bottom, and then you're able to kind of squish the face together a little bit more. It sounds absurd to be able to do this for a level of collectible as this, but if you look at some of the results that some customizers have been able to do, I think it is a difficult custom to do, but I don't think it's the worst, and the results are they actually look really good. And I think there's a better base to work with this figure than potentially the New Hope one. I think the New Hope one just looks a little too dark. The fur is, but I think the face is better. So there's trade-offs to either.
Yeah, it is a darker fur.
Yeah, we need a new Chewie from Solo or ESB or something like that.
Well, they scrapped the Chewie from Solo.
I know.
It was shown in the prototypes. It looked terrible.
Yeah,
absolutely
that's
terrible.
true.
And that's
the
probably
worst
why
one. They've gotten worse.
Yeah. It's a tough figure to get. It's a tough figure to get right.
It's hard, and you got to think that the R&D behind all that to constantly try and improve it. The is it worth it for them? I don't know.
All right, guys. So not as busy as a collection update as we've had in the past, but still some moving and shaking. It's definitely going to get a lot quieter for me now because I really have everything. I'm not intending to have anything else go out the door kind of at this point. And like this past weekend, I'd gone through the checklist and that's how I ended up looking at Chewy, but there wasn't really anything else that kind of sparked my interest.
I think Chris and I disagree.
Yeah, we'll just wait till next episode.
Well, you never know. It's just it's a disease.
That's a very big statement right there, and I agree 100%.
But I'm preaching to the choir here. Everybody else everybody else understands. So
yeah. Even the listeners, of course, they understand too.
Yeah, that's why a lot of them say they like listening to the collection update.
Yeah,
that's one of their favorite things, and it's really surprising to me that that's the case. But I think it helps justify some people's tendencies and that sort of thing. But hey,
look at these idiots.
Yeah.
Buying and trading.
Buying first order stormtroopers and Harley Quinns. What the hell?
Selling it before you even get it in hand.
Well, that's just some bad decision. I have moments of weakness, so
no, we all do it.
All right, guys, let's help out our scavengers here. Let's move on to our episode topic, and it's in the episode title, is how to find Hot Toys deals and bargains. And part of where I threw this around to you guys, and we kind of agreed this would be a good topic. We've had quite a few people recently asking in our group, "Hey, is this a good price? Did I make a good deal?" And everybody's answering it, but I think there's also one thing, Chris Letty, that we've tried to do from the very beginning is try to help people, to educate people, to be a resource for people so that they can learn and continue to grow as collectors on their own. So, just a couple things that I've found that have worked in the past. I know you guys have some good tips here too on being able to do some of that self-research yourself to find out, are you in fact getting a good deal or not?
Yeah. I mean, well, the big thing that Bryan came up with, and one thing that we had discussed, before we created the podcast was having these checklists on the website on 6scalescavengers.com. And Bryan put in a lot of work organizing both Marvel and Star Wars into these very usable lists, and they're chronological from the MMS slash VGM numbers and stuff like that. And we've got links to the original Sideshow listings, so you can see all the promo images and that sort of thing. We've got the original retail value or price, and then also eBay links directly to searches for those figures, and it helps. You can scroll through the lists and you can just see all the figures that they've produced from inception to current, the current day. So I know it's our website and stuff, but it really helps you narrow down, when a figure came out, how old it is. And then you can go right to eBay and look at the going rate, the, asking prices. You can check, then that goes into checking sold listings, global, US, all that sort of thing. So it's, we try to make it as easy as possible for people to find, these Marvel and Star Wars figures. But
way to take all the agenda here, Chris. All good stuff, my friend. Yeah, he's like,
oh no, he's leaving. Here's a tip. Here's a tip I think that I sometimes do. I sometimes utilize. I don't look at the price of a figure today as it was versus when it was released. If the figure is older, like for instance, like the Han and Chewie set or the Snowtrooper, even the Shore Trooper, I look at the original price and then I try and account for what it would be released if they were to reissue today.
mm-hmm.
Because then that's really your baseline. It's not what was previously the original cost, but it's if I was to pay $350 for a Shore Trooper and they reissued it, would I feel bad if they reissued it? I'm not basing that off of the 180 that it was. I'm basing on probably the 220, maybe probably the 240 today. Mm-hmm. Should they reissue something like that? So that's something I always look at when I'm looking for deals. Obviously, check eBay, but also benchmark yourself against the original price, and then some comparables to similar figures released today, and then that kind of give you a ballpark whether or not you're getting a good deal.
Yeah, so we'll kind of go down through the list here. Good stuff, guys. So obviously, you both touched on it. I think it's important to know the original retail price and have that frame of reference of when things are released and stuff, so you can kind of put that in context. Obviously, some of the Star Wars figures released at the end of 2014 and 2015. If you can get them at retail, great, but it's probably just not going to happen. So just kind of keep that in mind. And as Chris said, those checklists are a good resource for that. You both mentioned checking eBay. So, one thing that I find helpful and is when you search for a figure, whether you're using our checklist or you're not, is making sure you go to, when you do your search, like, for example, do like Hot Toys Star Wars Patrol Trooper, and you'll get all those keywords. And then if you check sold listings, and then you can sort it either by global or US only, and you can see oldest to newest, newest to oldest of what the recent sale prices are. So you can kind of use that as a gauge of, okay, well, obviously eBay is going to be a little bit inflated because people are going to account for fees, which can be upwards of like 13%. You can't use eBay sale prices versus group prices. Speaking of group prices, 1/6 Republic, Buy Sell Trade, and Tashi are two of my favorites. Now, I would highly recommend using the search features in both of those Facebook groups. And one tip that I learned recently, and I can't remember who it was, I want to say it was like Eric in our group. A lot of people will do a sales post on Facebook, and then they'll list a price with a figure. But what happens as they sell figures, they blank out the price and they'll write sold. Well, if you're trying to do research to find out like what it's sold for, you really can't tell. In the upper right-hand corner of every sales post, there's 3 little dots. And if you click that, you can say view edit history. You can see what the person originally had. So you can see like, oh, well, this person had a patrol trooper and they sold it for $250. You'll have that information. That's information you can kind of use to make your decision. So that kind of catches us up back to where I wanted to be here. But, Chris B, what are some of the things that you'll will do to kind of gauge market value?
My first thing is to ask people that I talk to on a regular basis. Like I talk to you a lot, Bryan, about different things about buying and how to go about buying. I talk to Danley. I talk to guys on the Scavengers. That's my first step. I go in there and I talk to them if they've seen what kind of prices they've seen them at. That usually is my go-to more than anything. Then I'll look at the sold listings on eBay. I wish that eBay actually showed you what the best offer was, because a lot of them are
they hide that.
Yeah, they hide that. So that doesn't help you at all. That kind of actually hinders you a lot, because it could be $500 and they might accept $400. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Those are the two things I usually do the most. It doesn't help me to see the original price, because then I'm going to want to get it at that original price or better. That bothers
ABS.
me. Yeah.
ABS.
Like I try as hard as I can. I don't think I've bought a figure I've gotten most of my figures for less than retail value. I don't like paying absorbent for the only one that I paid more for was the short trooper, and that wasn't even that high. So, yeah, those are my two go-to things, is talk to people that I know that, they kind of guide me better than anything.
Have you guys ever visited the site Watch Count?
No.
So Watch Count, you can check. I'm pretty sure you can. It doesn't work every time, but you type in the item number off a sold listing, and then if there's a best offer, I'm pretty sure it shows you the final value that it's sold.
What is that called again?
Watch Count.
Watchcount.com.
Yeah, it's pretty useful. So, and it doesn't always show the final value, but more times than not, I believe it does. And it's a tool that I use to benchmark, because, like you said, eBay will not tell you what the final value was for a best offer deal.
Yeah.
So you have to go to other websites.
I'll check that out.
So one thing I'll do too is, I think it's important to kind of have like Chris B, you were saying like it's good to have go-to people, but I think for me it also helps to have like a mental Rolodex or like a list of websites that I'll go check. And I kind of, I'm a huge nerd. I'm sure there's other scavengers that are the same way too. I like to kind of know like what's available out there. Sometimes stock levels, like Big Bad Toy Store, you can sometimes, if you click on a figure and you click at how many you can order, if it's less than 10, TCU taught Chris and I this recently, is you can see actually how much stock they have left. I know like the first order snow troopers as of earlier today, they only had one left. So when that one sells, it's going to be sold out. And sometimes you can use that to your advantage if you want to wait or time something. But then you mention it, like TC, there's other obscure websites like Toy Hideout, the Underground Figures, what I found. Sometimes you can find these obscure stores or stores that are like comic book shops, if you just search like hot toy, like the name of the figure you're looking for, and you just go through a couple pages of like a Google search, sometimes you'll see a lot of places that are sold out. But I mean, that's how I stumbled across the Chewy that I found.
Yeah, so Cletus does this. He's mentioned in one of his videos. He'll go into Sideshow's website, look for authorized retailers, and then literally go to the zip codes and search for those retailers if they have a website. Most don't, but some do have an actual website built with inventory, and you can actually find deals that way. Things at retail that might be sold out at Big Bad Toy Store or Toy Out or Sideshow, they'll have them there, and it's worth doing, especially at some of the I don't know, epicenters, the major cities like LA or New York, ones that have a lot of different stores. If you want to spend the time, you can, and it might actually benefit you. I can share some of these sites in the group. I've done some of the research, and most of the time it's not very fruitful, but sometimes it's worth it. And
hey, we're scavengers after all.
Yeah.
I use that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
I use that store locator also. And then a lot of times I'll just go on their Facebook page and see, like, just go through a couple pictures, and you can tell if it's like Sideshow statues or just,
That's true.
Instead you can thin out the herd a little bit.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So, Chris Letty, I know you've had a little luck using Mercari before. There's other apps out there like Let Go.
Yeah, I know. Lewis in the chat was mentioning Mercari. Yeah, I just recently started using it. I think the Collecting Weekly guys, Zach and Dean, have been using it, or at least Dean has, for quite some time, finding deals. And yeah, I sold a figure on there, and it was pretty easy. And I bought a couple stuff on there. It's pretty cool. The seller doesn't get paid until the buyer gives feedback once they receive it, and it's a good way. It's a pretty solid way to buy and sell things. I mean, you want to create multiple searches on there because you never know how people are going to list this stuff, and you just save them and you get notified all the time. And most of the time, stuff that you like or that you've looked at you'll just get random discounts, 5% discounts to entice you to buy things. It's just another way to search for figures. I've got a Hot Toys search on there, and I mean, there's people putting Hot Toys stuff on there daily. There was a Joker 2.0 that somebody just put on there, I think today or yesterday. And I mean, I don't know if the price is decent or not. I haven't looked at the prices for those, but still, you can make offers on there. Again, another one is Let Go. And you just never know what people are going to put on there. I've seen crazy good deals and then people asking the world for things. And one thing I know, because Let Go is area specific, like within a certain mile range of where you're located. So if you're traveling or whatever, you can search that area, or you could pick other parts of the country and search. You gotta check all this stuff out. If there's older figures that you're looking for and you're trying to find a deal, you can even, like we mentioned, just putting in maybe the MMS number and in a Google search and see what pops up under the selling feature for Google. Yeah, I mean, I've seen deals on other selling apps and that sort of thing pop up, and it's like, man, that's a pretty good deal if I lived in New York City or something, and you could always see if they're willing to ship. But like Bryan says, always be scavenging. ABS. You gotta. I mean, this is. You gotta put the work in. Yes,
if you want to find a deal, you got to put the work in.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
Because most of these figures you can find anywhere.
Yeah.
For some ridiculous prices, but if
You
you
can
want
buy a figure in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Or 2 minutes.
On the buy sell trade group, the OSB, a lot of times they have listings of people putting things for sale, and later on, what I'll sometimes put in search of, and then you'll have people go on who are trying to sell it like quicker, and usually get a better price than somebody who lists it on there, let's say for $350. If you ask for in search of, sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, I'll sell it to you for $250." Just that's a good way to get a deal as well.
Yeah, so it all depends if you're on like desktop versus mobile, and like on Facebook and the app and stuff like that. Some groups will let you search, and then you can sort by most recent, and some of them like OSR, you can look by most recent sales posts, which most of those all are sales posts on their buy sell trade side of their group that they have. But yeah, can't recommend that enough. And sometimes like I've lucked out before, like one of them, the Jetta Patrol Trooper. I found one there when I originally got that, and I saw somebody had it listed, but the listing was like over a month old and they hadn't updated it. And I just reached him out of the blue. I'm like, "Hey, this might be a crazy question, but you still have the Jetta Patrol Trooper?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do. Nobody took it, so we worked out a deal." So just because it hasn't been recently posted, maybe somebody didn't take them up on the offer, maybe they forgot to update the listing, and to Chris B's point, it never hurts to ask.
Yeah, I know. Kind of going going off that point, is I was just searching in OSR BST for Harley Quinn stuff, and there was a guy that had one listed. It was like 30 days ago, a listing from 30 days ago, but he had like, I don't know, 25 figures in one listing, and stuff gets buried, and posts are getting made every single, so many a day, and stuff just gets pushed down the line. And sometimes people don't necessarily like looking at those ones that have tons and tons of listings. So you just never know. That's why the search feature is really good, because if you just type in the figure name or a character name, you can pull up a lot of those older listings, and just, maybe you can get lucky and find a deal that squeak through.
Well, guys, we could probably keep talking about this for quite a while longer. I think everybody had some really excellent tips, and we'll revisit this again down the road. But, hopefully, if you're listening to this and you've been curious about how, when you do ask in a group, and we welcome questions like that, we want to help people. So when you ask, did I get a good deal? Hopefully now maybe you've got a couple options to do some of that research yourself and find out if you do in fact have made a good deal. All right, guys, moment we've all been waiting for. Let's talk about this Patrol Trooper. Our feature figure review, MMS 494, the Patrol Trooper from Solo: A Star Wars Story. A couple of the stats on this: the original retail price was $220. Before this episode, you would have struggled to find that, unless you've Chris B. You've seen him in a local comic shop recently,
Twice.
Twice, and you're not going to find it for $220 now. It's been hard to get before this, after this podcast, as 6-scale enablers. I think people that were on the fence about this figure are going to want to get it afterwards. But, anyways. Last stat, this originally went up for pre-order in June 2018, right after Solo hit theaters, and this did release May 2019, earlier last year. So the figure's actually been out for about 7-8 months or so, and let's just get into it, guys. I'll give honors to our special guest, and let's give all kind of our like overall thoughts about it before we kind of go in a little bit more depth.
I think it's amazing. It has such a shelf presence. It stands out against other figures. I wasn't originally going to get it until I decided to go with all the Solo figures. and I'm really glad I did. It's my favorite thing about it is the green goggles. Like they stick out. Like you can really see them. I have no complaints about this figure whatsoever. If I had to pick one thing about it that I didn't care about so much was under the arms, the rubber padding is pretty thick. But other than that, like it poses well. It's just a great figure all around. I love it.
Yeah, it's I don't have it anymore. I sold it to a good friend Ian CB across the pond. But I did get a great deal on it. I got it for $190. I think Chris Letty also got it for like $190 on Pop Culture. So for that price, it's amazing. Even not for that price, it's a great figure. The original trilogy vibes you get with the helmet, and then the mixed media. I like the mixed media stormtroopers. I like some of the cloth on the pants mixed with some of the hard plastic. It's like a classic design, but just souped up. So I think it's modernized, but I like it a lot too. I'm not collecting a lot of troopers. I'm not going to swear them all off, but I just have to draw the line somewhere. But hey, man, if you're collecting troopers, if you can find it now, do it, because I have a feeling 6 to 8 months from now, it's going to be hard to find for under $350. So jump on it.
Wow, I'm just checking some of the comments right here, and people are already going crazy about this. And I see Sean out there. Me posting pictures of this made him get it. I did want to go back. Scott mentioned earlier, thanks for the great tips. You're welcome. And let's see, everybody else is, they're going crazy for this.
I don't know. Everybody's ordering it. I knew when I was gonna jump into the Star Wars pool that this was gonna be a figure that I targeted, just because I love the aesthetic. It's like a cross between a scout trooper and a stormtrooper and a shore trooper. I think it's got, like TC said, classic design, classic OT design. There's really not much to criticize this figure about. It's even got.
Oh, sorry, Chris. I was going to say the body used on that is really, it's a really solid body. The arms are ratcheted, and it stands well, and it's pretty much, you can stand on its own.
Yeah, it doesn't need a stand really. It's even got like the straps that go across the side here are actually fabric straps and stuff. It's not just molded. You've got just like, even just adding the little green detail on the chest piece just breaks up the color enough that it gives it a little unique appearance. And it's got great mobility. It doesn't come with a ton, but it doesn't need to. It's a very simple trooper, and that's all you need sometimes. Just solid design. It stands on its own.
I had said about the under the arms, the rubber,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's thicker, it still folds naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't like impede the way you want to pose it. I'm just curious of how that's going to hold up over time, though. The rubber.
Time will tell. I know Allison, she's got a lot of techniques and stuff for taking care of rubber and like pleather and silicone stuff. So, it's good if you have it out all the time, and, you might need to, maybe in a year or two or something like that, just kind of clean it up and keep it so it doesn't dry out or whatever. But
I have a question. So the shoulder pads here on other troopers, aren't they usually like a softer plastic? This is pretty rigid. Like you can't really squeeze it like you can the other, like the snow troopers. There's a thinner plastic. I can actually like squeeze it a little bit. It's really a solid.
Yeah, I think a lot of the other
Plastic.
troopers are like that, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it's fantastic. I only have a couple nitpicky things. You guys have already said a lot of the things. I got mine in our group, and I guess for now kind of a decent price. It was funny because it was used when I bought it. And the first thing I asked the admin team was like the rubber arms got a little bunched up on mine, but to be honest, like it doesn't bother me that much because it means the arm has some give, so you can get some poses like what we're showing here on the screen. BG Toy Art, one of the best out there. So that being aside, I think it like I saw Dan in the chat here saying it's a great hybrid of previous troopers. I think it. I didn't when I first saw it, and obviously, let's just talk about it here for a second. I mean, it was only in the film for like 5 seconds. Unfortunately, it just got left on the cutting room floor. But I think one of the reasons why I love a lot of the art books and the behind the scenes thing is because you can get a little bit more depth on things that maybe didn't necessarily make it into a film. But I think this is great. I mean, it's kind of got like a shore trooper, tank trooper vibe with the shin guards on it, the mixed media with the pants. I just noticed earlier today. I didn't even notice until it, but there's like, there's rubber boots underneath the white shin guards.
Mm-hmm.
The accessories I think are good. I love the helmet design. I love the extra black around where it typically is white. It's just, it's good. I think this is going to continue to hold value. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our friend Roy, and he called it a long time ago. He said this was going to be the next short trooper. He said it on Rogue One 6, one of the first episodes they did, and man, he's been right. So, moral of the story here is listen to Roy, guys.
Yeah. He. I was just actually watching that episode earlier before we were recording, and PJ, the Paradox Nerd, did a great 4K review. So if you want to look at his, check out his YouTube channel. And I wish we could get more troopers in the same area. I know, Chris B, you've been talking about a tank trooper and a range trooper and that sort of thing, and some of those figures that have been teased.
They would be awesome.
Oh man, it's just something breaking up the the aesthetic with the cloth pants and that sort of thing.
I think one of the reasons why I like Solo and Rogue One so much is because the differentiation we get in the troopers. I mean, like the First Order troopers, they look cool, but I mean, it's just an evolution of the Stormtrooper. We got a couple different versions, but nothing to the extent of like the imagination that we got from, all the Rogue One troopers, Death Trooper, Short Trooper, and then with Solo, the Range Trooper, the Mimban Trooper, this Trooper, Mud Trooper. I mean, there's just so much cool stuff that's out of the norm. It's Star Wars, but it's different, and I think that's why. This has really resonated. And it's funny because this thing, like you guys mentioned, it sat for a while, and I think it finally just caught on. To be honest, and I was influenced by this as well, whether the rumor was true or not. But I think on another podcast they had mentioned that like there was only like 300 of these in the Hong Kong market, and I think people started thinking like, oh, we got another short trooper on our hands if there's going to be limited stock out there. And anytime you've got low supply and high demand, that's when you're going to start seeing, these prices. Chris, Letty, I know your friend Justin has just recently got this, and he's been kind of tracking the prices on like Toys Wonderland and Tim Cent and stuff. The way that those websites work is as soon as they sell one and they have one less available, the price goes up for the remaining ones. and at TC, actually, I think you've found this out before too, is they'll use that incremental price increase every time they have one less. Well, they're going to jack the price up 10 or $20. And
Yeah, they do like a when it first comes out, they judge. So like, it's not an automatic increase. It's an automatic increase after the initial batch is sold. So like, there's a market, they determine where to sit, and then after the first 10 sales or whatever, then that's their market. And then from there, it seems to always just go up, 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 up after every sale. But you're right, Brian. In this case, it's just going to do that. It's going to do the same thing. It's going to increase every purchase.
Before we review this, guys, anybody want to make any predictions of where this thing's going to land eventually, market price wise?
5.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe like 4.
I'm thinking double. I think double is in the works.
Yeah, like 450 range.
Yeah. Death Troopers are around there, so I would expect this one. I don't think this is as popular as those, but could be wrong.
So, and this kind of goes back to like managing things. I can't say it enough. If there's any of these things that you're thinking about, you don't necessarily have to like dopo them or and stuff, but don't let them sit. Like if you think you're going to want it, just go get it, because the price is only going to go up. And as more people buy into hype and stuff like that, this is probably the worst time to buy a Patrol Trooper right now. As much as we're all going to recommend that you get it, I think this is also a bad time to do it, because everyone's going to be competing with you right now.
Well, another thing to take into consideration is this guy has no buddies to hang out with from the Solo movie. So once like a Mud Trooper releases or Solo, between those two, it happened with the Death Trooper. As soon as Krennic was put up for pre-order, those figures were sub 200, and now they're higher than, they're over 500, for some of them. So it's tough. I think TC was his spotting of it on Pop Culture at that one.
That was Elvis.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right, Elvis.
Yeah, I guess I told you about it.
Well,
but
he's in Australia, so he kind of gave us the heads up, and those sold. I think you got one, I got one, and I think there might have been one or two other people that got them, and then they were sold out. It was that. So,
I think I shared this with you guys in our group chat a few months ago, but I know Alter Ego or somebody like that was. I think you could have got one for like 175 stateside not that long ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
If I might, like if you look around at your local comic store,
yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Because I've been traveling, I've seen him at 2 of them already in the last week, because people don't buy them from the comic stores, and they were 220, 230, 240 at both of them. And like I didn't expect to see them there at all. That's where I got this one. I got this one in Philadelphia at a comic store. So
yeah, that's one thing too to remember, Chris. Sorry to cut you off, but like we're in our little collecting bubble, and we can talk ourselves into certain things, but we have to realize that I would say anybody that's listening to this podcast has more general collecting knowledge than just somebody that walks into a comic store. Use that information to your advantage.
Yeah, you just never know what you'll find in these shops. You don't know what people are trading in. You don't know what stock they have kicking around. I mean, Bryan and I have a lot of stores within a decent, a pretty short distance from where we live in New Hampshire that have Hot Toys, and there's, we've even found out about a couple more shops down in Massachusetts that I haven't been to yet that carry Hot Toys. So I'm interested in checking those out. And I don't know, you just never know what you're going to find in there.
Yeah, you never know. But I went to a local comic shop, a Sideshow authorized retailer, and I went in and I left with $90 in pops. I didn't end up with a Hot Toy. I went there looking for Hot Toys, so I'm not going back.
Steve's giving you the Justin right now, the
Yeah.
JT.
You got to call them and see if they actually carry Hot Toys.
I know. Yeah. I just kind of
Yeah.
wanted to get out because there's like no shops other than that one that's near me that even had a chance. So I just wanted to go check it out for myself.
A lot of times I'll call and they'll just say, "Yeah, we can order you something," but they don't have
Yeah.
anything in stock. Can I say something else about the figure?
Yeah.
In the pictures, it doesn't really show the weathering as good as in person. The weathering is like an oily, like a mechanic kind of
Mhm.
aesthetic to it. You know, like his feet are oily and he's got an oil smudge on his forehead, and the oil is like in the crevices and creases. You can't really see it very well in the pictures.
Yeah, that's very true. It's a great like wash for the the wear on the figure. This, some of these pictures do show it, but it gives it, it's not like a super clean stormtrooper. It's got some grit and it's got some character, and that's what, it just kind of bumps it up for me.
All right, guys, let's rate this. I think it's going to be pretty high across the board here, but thanks to Chris B, we have a method of how we're going to rate this, and I have to say I'm a fan. So thanks to his suggestion, we're going to go rate this on how many Corellian backflips this figure is.
Who's going first? I'll go first.
You go first.
He's 5 full Corellian backflips for me.
Going strong.
Yep, strong. TC.
Oh, I don't have the figure, but I have.
Well, you can still rate it.
Yeah, I would. I'd say 4.75. I would only knock it because of the arms. I'm not a fan of that material used on figures. But other than that, man, I mean, Hot Toys did not skimp out on this figure with the production run of rumored to be 300 in Hong Kong and presumably only a couple thousand, I guess, worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
They could have mailed it in, but they didn't do it. The weathering's awesome. They carried it out really well. So 4.75.
Chris B.
I'd say 4 3/4 turns. Definitely. It's like TC said, the thickness of the rubber in the arms is the only detraction on it. But other than that, it's a beautiful thing. It's gorgeous.
I'm gonna agree with both you and TC. I'm gonna go 4.75. A couple of things. Actually, I didn't mention it too, and I can't quite. I mean, when you pose it, it doesn't bother anything. But right where his essentially, I'll call it what it is, his crotch guard, kind of doesn't always fit well against like the pants, depending on like the pose. And then the rubber arms are just the only two things. But I love the design, the contrast, the weathering, as you guys said. This is a must-have for any Star Wars fan.
And Yost did post a little while ago, if he got 100 people, he might think about doing the bike.
Oh, that would be
Do it.
Awesome. Let's get that campaigning, because
that would be great.
This guy next to a 6-scale bike or whatever it was called would be killer in a display.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say speeder bike, but I don't know what it is.
I know.
The big box.
Yeah, Jazzing. Definitely Jazzing dioramas, Yost. He can put out some good product, and I don't care if it takes 2 years to come out. I'll wait.
All right, there's our ringing endorsement for a figure that was released May last year, and may the good fortune be with you trying to scramble to find one against all the other scavengers out there now.
You're gonna see a lot of posts.
I've seen. I just saw somebody in the group post they just got one. There has to be a few people here that ordered it while we were talking. It's kind of crazy. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of the episode. Chris B, I want to thank you for joining us, making it a 4 of us for our 40th episode. I thought it was a lot of fun.
I appreciate it so much. I really was looking forward to coming. And a little story for you. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to come on because when you asked me, Brian, I had just gotten a really bad car accident. And
Oh no.
I actually looked at my phone like to call somebody, and there was your post about coming on tonight. And I was like, all right, let me call my home first, and then I'll get back to you, Brian, whether I was going to be able to get on it. So yeah, I really looking forward
hopefully
to it.
you're obviously you're all right, but
I'm good. The car's not.
Oh man.
So, but
Tough.
yeah.
Sorry to hear, but glad you could join, man. This is fun.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
We'll invite you back at some point to talk about another figure that you'd give a glowing review to.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, for coming on. We do appreciate it.
When you're ready to do Snow Troopers, I'll hop back on.
Yes.
It's a deal. All right, guys, we'll do the normal plugs here and give our closing thoughts. Obviously, we mentioned earlier, we've got our website, sixkillscavengers.com. We have our YouTube channel. If you're watching live, you know about it. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, check it out. You can see, the multimedia that we have with this as well. We have our TeePublic store. A quick shout out to a couple scavengers. I know Ben, Mike, there's a few others that got some t-shirts recently. Certainly appreciate it. Glad you're able to rep our the Scavenger brand out there. Already bugging Roy about doing some new t-shirt designs. So when he's got a chance, he'll get there. Chris, I hear there's a rumor that the clothier might be making a return.
Yes, the 6 scale clothier has some more designs coming and some more options as far as logos and stuff like that. So maybe in the next few weeks, I'll get some of that stuff up and, decide on pricing and that sort of thing. And, all the proceeds go towards our hosting fees. So check out the group for that.
All right, we've got our Facebook page. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. Obviously, we're also on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and sixkillscavengers.libsyn.com. If you want to grab that RSS feed and throw it into your podcast catcher of choice. Whew. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Episode 40.
Our longest one yet. I think so.
I think we topped 2 for our awards show, but it's pretty up there.
We had a streak of like 5 of the last 6 episodes are like an hour and 30 to an hour and 31 minutes.
I know.
It was amazing. So this one broke the streak.
It's so easy to talk for a long period of time when you're into this stuff.
Totally.
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout. I mentioned it earlier, Chris, but I know you joined the Sithcast recently, their most recent episode, and PJ, the Paradox Nerd, is a fan, is a friend of ours, excuse me, and also hops on the Scavengers Assemble with Steve, and is part of the Rogue 16 team. I hear a rumor they've got an episode coming out, maybe the beginning of next week, and definitely check out PJ's podcast. A lot of just very casual conversation about Star Wars, just like this. So if you like this, you'll definitely like the Sithcast.
Yeah, and Steve should have his Scavengers Assemble next Friday night, another live event. So make sure to tune in for that as well.
All right, guys, any other closing thoughts?
That's it.
All righty.
Good show.
Well, thanks again, guys. Appreciate the chat. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We had almost 48 people tuning in live at one point. The show within the show. Too many people to shout out, but definitely thank everybody for tuning in. So, Chris Letty, bring us home, my friend.
Excelsior.